through that list. And, say, oh yeah, I have that, that person's email. And I'm willing to reach out to them.
I would say single men too. I mean, are just as potentially as needy as wanting company, financial assistance by having a roommate.
I agree with that. Is there?
I'm not aware how you figure that out.
Oh, right. But maybe a brainstorming list. Do you have some ideas around that, Sue?
No, it was just that you focused on women in particular, and I thought, well,
it's only because
Yeah.
only really because that Jennifer did that list for us like that.
Is there?
How about the Thursday morning men's group
There you go.
at the bowling alley?
Yeah, it might be nice to approach them, and
And-
between the members that show up there, they may be able to come up with a list. That's a good idea.
Okay.
Would somebody be willing to attend that? Do you know who the person is to reach out to on that?
Probably Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they have a flyer in the Westover PO. There's probably one, there might be one in Wilmington looking for more men to join. So there's probably contact information.
I can go look at the Westover one and see who
It's
the
in the foyer.
contact is, but I'm sure that a call to whoever might be an organizer through Steve Butler would probably be good. Do you want me to call Steve Butler?
If you don't mind, Sue, that would be great.
And I know that they do have a women's group. I think meets on Wednesdays.
No.
Would you be willing to go, Sue, and do like a little hand
Sure.
out flyers, hand
Yeah.
them the actual flyer, talk about it a little bit?
Oh, okay.
Maybe
Yeah,
we
I
can
guess
get
I could do
some.
that. Yeah. Okay,
That would
it
be
won't be
great.
this week. I'll follow up on it next week unless I have a little chance tomorrow morning, but I'll be gone on Friday. So yeah, next week I'll focus on that.
Yeah, it
Okay.
doesn't, we're not on any kind of deadline here as far as I know. So it's
Right.
totally fine, and we appreciate the help to kind of facilitate some of these things.
Do you think that women's group meets at the same place or,
I do think it is the bowling alley.
okay,
I believe the women's group bowls. I think I read that somewhere, probably
Oh.
in the Valley News. So I think they bowl on Wednesdays. Sometimes I think they stay and have lunch there. I think that's what I read.
so it's more of a bowling group than, or a elder ladies bowling group.
Yeah, and I believe that I don't know if they stay for lunch every week or once a month or what it is, but I just recently read something about that when I was reading about the men too, so.
Is that what you hear, Gretchen, as opposed to a ladies coffee clutch kind of thing?
I didn't realize that they bowled.
Let's go with the reaching out to Steve, right? And then we can get our answers. I mean, we can all speculate what we think it is, but if
Right, yeah,
Steve
Steve can tell
could
you if the
definitely
ladies
give us
bowl.
the answer to that. I
Yep.
think that would be best. Okay, so Sue, thank you for doing that. If you end up having any questions for me, feel free to reach out, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I will probably do another Facebook post here shortly, just with a reminder that those classes are still available. Next update, went through the multifamily housing webinar with the BDCC and their partners on that. A ton of super useful information. I was actually shared the links to that. So if anyone's ever hankering to sit through some webinars on multifamily housing purchases, I'm happy to. It was a free webinar series to begin with, so I'm sure they wouldn't mind if I shared those with you. If you have any interest in that, let me know and I can get that over to you. Okay. Next point of business. I was contacted by a member of the Rotary who would like to have somebody from our organization come and talk about the things that we are discussing in Bytown housing. And everybody immediately jumped at the opportunity. So.
When did they meet?
Wednesdays, I think. It's a lot, like 3 Wednesdays a month or something.
Yeah, at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And are they meeting remotely?
I don't think so. Well, I don't know. Are they still at rescue?
No.
No. Okay. All right. I guess I was ill prepared with the information needed to satisfy this agenda item. I can figure it out and I can go if you guys are okay with it. I will. Awesome. Okay. I
Love
will
it.
facilitate that with the Rotary and I will
So,
go talk to them.
Also, I was talking to Sarah Shippey this afternoon, who's
Yeah.
a Rotary member. And she said it would be a good place to potentially perk some interest, not only in participation in this group, but maybe for some donations.
Gotcha.
So
Speaking of expanded participation in the group, there's something I forgot to mention. We're good with the Rotary item. I'll take care of that. And I do, just before we hop into the employer housing survey, not at this meeting, but at the next one, Meg Streeter will be joining our committee, which she has a lot of history and insight with housing in the Valley and those types of things. So we look forward to adding her to the group. And thank you, Diane, for convincing her to come and talk with us and join us when we have our meetings. Additionally, Sue or Matt, if you want to introduce yourself, that would be great to the group.
I will start by just saying that Matt is our newest planner here, our newest senior planner here at the Wyndham Regional Commission. And he's going to be working with me on the bylaw modernization grant project for Wilmington. And so I thought it might be interesting for him to see how this group functions and the kind of things that you're talking about. And Matt, if you want to say a couple words.
Yeah, thanks, Sue. So as Sue mentioned, I just started with the Wyndham Regional Commission last week. And this is a project Sue and I are going to be working on together, working with Wilmington on their bylaw modernization efforts. So I'm primarily here just to listen today. I'm familiar with the by-town EDC efforts and the housing subcommittee's work. So just curious to see kind of what's on your agenda and what you're talking about today. But definitely look forward to working with this group going forward. And just by way of background, before joining WRC, I was working as the town planner for the town of Swansea, New Hampshire, which is just adjacent to Keene, for about 4 years. So I'll bring to the project quite a bit of municipal experience, working on zoning updates to address housing in the town of Swansea. So looking forward to it, and just wanted to let you know I need to take off at 3:45. So I'll just wave goodbye at that point. So not to worry if you see me drop off the screen. So thanks for letting us attend this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Matt. Nice to meet you.
Okay, employer housing survey. Much like our shared housing classes, not a ton of traction on this one. I am currently sitting at 4 total responses. So
How
I
many?
may, 4 of them, 4. May try to maybe do some personal reach out. I mean, we're obviously not going to be able to accumulate the type of data we were looking to from 4 responses, and actually they are 3 of them are in Wilmington and 1 in Dover, so that doesn't really spread the field the way we kind of wanted it to. So I won't go too bonkers with it trying to do it, but I do think a little bit of information would be helpful for us. So that's the update there. Granicus. So was it last week, Gretchen?
Yes.
Yeah, last week. Gretchen and I met again with Granicus, who is the company who's been discussing with us the implementation of, what's the word I'm looking for, Gretchen? Ordinances.
Ordinance.
Yeah, ordinances for Airbnbs and short-term rentals in Dover and Wilmington. You know, a lot of the same conversation. They're looking to sell a product, and they know that we need we need that product. So they're still definitely pushing that. But you know, that we did have a good conversation with them about like what it is that we want to do. We're not looking to obviously push Airbnbs out. We understand the need for them and the free market and how all of those things work. Is just, you know, reiterating to them, you know, the idea of leveling that playing field between the Airbnbs and the inns and lodges and things like that. And they were supposed to be sending Gretchen and I don't know if you got those yet, Gretchen, but they were supposed to be sending Gretchen and I kind of sample ordinances to take a look through, basically ranging from like, okay, here's a very simple, straightforward, you know, ordinance as far as short-term rentals go. And we said, realistically, we don't need to see, you know, your massive municipality, you know, 100-page document that's going to blow these places out of the water. We said, you know, anywhere from like your very basic ordinance to kind of middle of the road type of information, we would definitely like to see to kind of decide where we fall and if and when that type of ordinance would benefit us, you know, as far as the short-term rentals go. So hopefully we'll get a look at those soon. You know, if we do get them and feel like it warrants an additional conversation with the group, then we can definitely, you know, bring that back to the group and have that conversation again. Okay.
So they actually have a person that they subcontract with, I believe. I think he was a subcontractor that actually develops these ordinances. So that's who we're speaking with. And, you know, he really pointed out that we really need to focus on, you know, when we go to do this, what's our goal? Like, is our goal to create more long-term housing? And, or is it, you know, the inns and lodges are putting pressure on us, and they should have, you know, more safety considerations because they're staying in technically an inn. And you can really put these two different, you know, like if it's a 1-bedroom Airbnb, that's a little different than a 6-bedroom Airbnb. So, or short-term rental, sorry.
And does this person have experience in Vermont with Vermont land use regulations?
So it didn't seem like it. I mean, he kept referring to Vermont, but he never really said that he did an ordinance.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Just curious, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that we would go the route of hiring him to do this. I think that it should definitely be internal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the more the point of that was just to get some of those insights from him because he is familiar with it, and then from there how we would be framing our ordinances, you know, and potentially tying that into a registration or, you know, system or
right, and they have the system for that already set up. So that's good. Yeah,
correct. So again, we'll take Gretchen and I will keep kind of digging on that. That this is not this is the type of problem that took a number of years to grow to where it is. So it's the type of problem that we kind of see taking a little bit to figure out, right? I mean, there's no overnight solution to this problem, just like with anything we deal with in housing. But Gretchen and I will stay on top of it and update you guys as we see fit.
So I have a question, Eric.
Sure.
This is something the Planning Commission, who is rewriting our town plan, should have on their radar. Has anybody mentioned it to them? And as we go to the accessory dwelling units, we should probably, I don't know if they've been looped in on all that. And Sarah is the liaison to Sarah Shippey's the liaison to the Plan Commission, but we definitely don't want to miss out while they're doing their thing to make sure
No, I
that they
agree.
visit.
Yeah, I think there has been a conversation between myself and Kevin about the Airbnb situation, and he told me that he was going to notify me when they were discussing accessory dwellings. So I don't think it would be out of left field. I just don't know. I will reach out to Kevin again and just make sure that we're on the same page as far as these things are concerned.
Great.
And just so you both know, this is Becky and I'm on the planning commission, so we are aware of it and we have mentioned it.
Okay. Thank you, Becky.
You're welcome.
Good.
Okay. All right. So we are going to have a conversation now about accessory dwelling units.
Does everyone have a good idea about what an accessory dwelling unit is? It could be attached to a home, or it could be a single standing unit that is on a property. And, we were thinking that this might be a good way, chances are it's a 1-bedroom. But is this a way of informing people that are residents of our town, providing them with extra income to rent as long-term rental? And this could be, a small solution, like I said, it might house one person, or, if several people are doing it, it could house several people. So I don't think that residents are aware of this option. And if we did, I don't know, I don't like this word for this, but a campaign of sorts, informing people that, and I picture kind of, it's a postcard. And then we have a link there that can link to a website that kind of like, if you live in Dover, it's this. If you live in Wilmington, it's this. And, pointing out the ordinance and, what they would have to do to go by those. I don't know. It's a long shot. But any feeling on that?
So isn't there some grant money now from federal? I thought I heard that today on the VPR thing that they had at noon, that there's money out there for these types of units. So that would be an important, if people thought that they might be able to avail themselves of some money. So that would be an important piece of it too.
I believe there's some funding that's being administered through Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust for improvements to, I don't think it's specific to accessory dwelling units, but I think it could be used for that.
That's the program we discussed last meeting, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's still started.
Soon.
I
though.
didn't, yeah. I understand that they're having difficulty with a grant agreement with the state.
Shoot.
I know. So you don't think, because I thought it was linked, that program was linked to income levels?
Oh, I'm not clear on that. You might be right.
Yeah, I'll look it up. You said it was on VPR today, Vicki?
There was a program at noon today about the housing problems in Vermont, and accessory dwelling units were mentioned. I wasn't paying that much attention, except when I heard, the usual issue that comes up with where you put them based on if you're on a well and a septic system, and do you meet requirements for distances and size of systems, et cetera, et cetera. So I know Brattleboro is promoting that, so that's a place to check in
Absolutely.
and see what's happening there and where they're accessing funds from.
From what I heard on the show today, I didn't listen to the whole thing either, but Bradborough's part of their test group. So I'm not sure it's available to a broad range of communities, but I think that they are. I don't know, Sue, do you know anything about that?
I know that Brattleboro changed some of the regulations to make developing accessory dwelling units easier. And that they were able to get a number of new units, built during COVID as a result of that.
They received some funds to either rewrite or I think more to rewrite their ordinances and codes for this group. That's what they said today.
Okay, they may have gotten, right, so this
Okay.
bylaw modernization grant that Wilmington's is getting, that's part of, what we can look at when we're doing that work.
Yeah. That's closed though, correct?
Yes,
Yeah. That was mentioned to it was offered that we work in conjunction with Wilmington to go after the grant. Our planning commissioner was not interested, nor did he feel that we were ready at the time to be discussing it.
yeah, we talked to Tabby about that, and that's how she felt. They weren't ready. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the general consensus, even from second homeowners, is that they're open to doing this type of thing because they understand there is the need for housing in the valley. And I, obviously don't believe that they're all doing it 100% out of the good of their heart. I think obviously there's money to be made doing it as well, but there is the interest to be doing this type of thing on properties, throughout the valley. And if we can help to alleviate some of the issues with housing by allowing more or a little bit of lenience when it comes to this, I mean, that seems like it's an easy way to solve a piece of the puzzle. Is it a slippery slope? Yes, because we could end up, agreeing to something that, eventually we don't love. But, I think as long as it's controlled from the start and done in a way that we approve of, I do think it's a way to, it is a piece of the puzzle for sure. Anybody else have thoughts or questions or ideas on that piece? Becky, do you want to give us, do you have like the 2-minute drill on what kind of has happened with the conversation surrounding accessory dwellings at Planning Commission so far?
We've only just mentioned it because we're not in that chapter yet.
Okay.
So we haven't really had a formal talk about it at all. We've just mentioned it. And housing obviously has come up quite a bit in many of our meetings.
Yeah. Okay. If you don't mind, Becky, and like I said, I will touch base with Kevin again as well, but just to shoot me an email or a phone call when you do get closer to talking about it, because I would definitely love to be there for that conversation.
Absolutely. I will actually loop you right into our all our email chain.
That's great.
Okay.
Love it. Okay. Gretchen, did you have anything else you wanted to cover there on the accessory dwellings?
No, I will take a look at those funding opportunities, and
Okay.
if there's something there, I will definitely forward it out to everyone.
Yep. Sounds good. And if there's anything that we can be doing, together to make our case stronger, we can absolutely take a look at doing that. All righty. Next on the agenda, we have invited Nikki Steele here, who is a part of, it's the Roundhouse group, correct?
Well, it was originally Deerfield Valley Affordable Housing.
Okay.
But it was for the Roundhouse, yeah.
Gotcha. So Nikki has come to share some of her thoughts and experiences on, how things went through their program as we talk about the potential of our own, housing trust.
Yeah.
That's what we were after, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how valuable this will be to you, but Gretchen asked me and I didn't know it was going to be sunny and warm today, so I said yes.
Sorry, Nikki.
Yeah, well, anyway, no, in the late 80s, so, I'm thinking, oh gosh, that goes back a few years. Things were similar in some ways in that there'd been a real boom, economic boom. A lot of condos were being built, a lot of second homes were being built, and there, like there is now, there were very few places for people who wanted to settle here and were sort of middle class people to live. I think it's probably much worse now, but we felt it was bad then. So a group of us banded together through the group Deerfield Valley Affordable Housing. And Meg Streeter was on it, Ann Manwaring, Cindy Hayford, Rhea Clark, David Larson, Tom Rail, myself. There was probably a few others. It dwindled through the years till it was very few of us. And we bought the Roundhouse, the octagonal house at the end of Shafter Street, which was really falling apart. Did a little rehab, started working with what was then Brattleboro Area Land Trust. We thought originally we could do it on our own, but that just, as many of you, I think all of you have been on volunteer committees where you know it's going to be hard, but you have no idea how hard it is. So we did work on rehabbing it, and just about the time we were getting finished, we went into a recession and everything crashed and burned. We were under a construction loan. So we were paying 17% interest. We thought the 2 units, because it's a duplex, would flip fast. We'd sell them and we'd be fine. Didn't happen because a lot of the state criteria for what we could do in a land trust, it was like a little tiny window. You couldn't earn too much, but if you didn't earn enough, you weren't going to be able to pay. So the slot that somebody had to fit through was terribly tiny. So we did sell one half to John and Rhea Clark, who still own that half. Couldn't sell the other half. We're crashing and burning under paying our monthly construction loan. Then we also became landlords, because then we had to rent the other half, and they were not great tenants and they didn't pay. And again, all of this on volunteer time. So it was quite an experience. Then we ended up actually Vermont Community Loan Fund and Vermont Land Trust really helped us out. And we were some of the first loans that the loan fund did. And we were able to switch to a regular loan. We just had no idea what we were getting in for. It all ended up okay. We turned everything over to Brattleboro Area Land Trust because we were down to about 4 people then doing everything. And we've been doing it for 3 or 4 years. We were kind of tired. We sold the other half and then we disbanded. So the cheerful part of the story is that we saved that beautiful building. We couldn't necessarily always do it in a manner that we would want. Like we would have loved to restore the cupola, but the inside of the cupola, it was gorgeous. We couldn't restore that. We just didn't have the money. We have had 2 families in there for a number of years who enjoy the place and love the place. It's not easy living in a house that was built in 1848, but it's a gorgeous, building that when you drive into town. The hard part was we didn't know what we needed to know. We were volunteers. We worked really hard. We were inexperienced, and it was a very difficult time. So there you go. Any questions?
So once the 2 units were sold, now Wyndham Housing Trust, Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust, they still are involved with that, and
Yeah.
and has
They own the
any-
land. They own the land, and the 2 families own their half of the building. So that anytime, I would imagine that maybe Rhea and John will be looking to sell this at some point. And so then they'll have to work with the land trust. And there's restrictions in terms of the sales. So we made 2 units perpetually affordable and saved a gorgeous building.
So are there income restrictions for those owners?
Not once they bought it, but for a new owner, there would
Yeah.
be, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm far enough away from that now that I don't know what those are.
Yeah,
I
It's
don't,
okay.
other than being a good friend of Ria's and going in and seeing, I don't have any connection with that anymore.
And once.
So it's a really difficult, we hit it, our timing was poor, but we didn't know that.
And if one of the units is sold again, I think there's a maximum profit that can be made, if I remember from when it was formed.
Right. Yeah.
So it remains affordable and
Perpetually affordable, right. Yeah, and it said it'll be interesting because, John and Rhea have owned it for almost 30 years.
Right.
And this will be the first time. And then the other unit is owned by Fred Squirt's daughter. And she bought it, I don't know when she bought it, but she's been there quite a long time. So it hasn't really come up on the market for a long time. Don't know what'll happen.
So actually in the paper, the last couple of weeks, we've had a Butterfield that also Wyndham Windsor
Yep.
Land Trust is selling. They're selling it. It's a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath for $195,000. And they are going to give a down payment grant of $79,700.
Wow.
So that makes it about $115,000 property to purchase.
Uh-huh.
And it does say there's, income guidelines, but that's right at the bottom of Mount Snow. But that's what 195 is a pretty good price, particularly when you get 80,000 off for your down payment.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I think, I'm proud of what we did. We had with 2 wonderful families that really were struggling, trying to find a place to live. We saved a gorgeous historic house. But filled a tiny little need. I mean, by only having 2 units. But it's something we drastically need more of, because, like John was on rescue for a while, he was in ski, these are people we want to have in the valley.
Right.
And I just,
Exactly. An
I just
example of
worry.
exactly what we need.
Yeah.
Nikki,
But
can you talk a little bit about the seed money?
I'm reading from the ad in the Valley News. It just says it's a grant.
No. I was asking Nikki.
What seed?
Nikki,
money?
sorry.
Oh, hey, Vicky.
Hey, Nikki.
Vicky and Nikki.
We do it all the time.
I know.
Sorry.
What's seed money?
Well, how did you get started? Like, how did you?
I really don't remember. I know that, yeah, I honestly don't remember. We must have gotten
A
grant
grant from
or
VIII.
something. And then, as I said, Tom Rail, who had been building a lot of buildings in Dover Hills and was feeling the guilt of a bleeding heart liberal that he was building all these second homes, and so he stepped forward and did a construction loan for us. But again, then really got caught because the market fell out. So we were able to do a lot of it because he was kind of a benefactor kind of thing for a while. And his crew did the work at below rate, that sort of thing. But I don't know that we had any. We must have gotten something from the Vermont Land Trust.
Mhm.
But you can ask Meg Streeter next week. She might remember that. Yeah, I honestly don't remember that. I know that the Land Trust was a great help to us and gave, we were affectionately referred to at the state level as the project from hell, if that gives you any idea of how we suffered.
Yikes.
Yeah. I mean, they loved us, but we were the project for hell. It was like no matter what could go wrong did. Yeah. So aren't you glad you invited me here today?
No, I mean, I think, it's, and I don't think that any of us are interested in owning a building. And I
Right.
don't think that's the way to go. And I think that this is a good story for us to hear, that it's reinforcing why we should not be doing that.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I do think that, a potential trust would help us get some lift off with these private developers. And, but I don't know. And I haven't done the research, and I was hoping that maybe one of the action items today could be that somebody will take this on to take a look at the, state statute on, creating a housing trust like this. And maybe having a conversation with the Vermont Land Trust about how to go about this as well.
Yeah. And I think as thing, I'm not going to say you, I don't mean you necessarily as a group, but because of Vermont Community Land Fund, Loan Trust, stepping forward to help bail us out. I am now on the board of the Vermont Community Loan Fund. And they work a lot with affordable housing and give loans for affordable housing. So, down the line, if there is a builder who's interested in doing some affordable housing, maybe a combination of affordable units and other units, I would also turn to the loan fund and talk to them.
Any other questions for Nikki?
Thank you, Nikki.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
I'll leave the building and the meeting and go outside and enjoy that sun because it's really good.
Good for you.
Have fun. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you, Nikki.
Yep, bye-bye.
You
Leave the meeting.
can't leave.
Yeah, so I think that's those are the types of things we need to hear, right? Because it convinces us, as much as we want to think outside the box to get a lot of these things done, there's certain things that are just not worth our time and energy. At least, I understand that was a different time, different situation, but that's still a very, that's a big lift. In my head, I think when we talk about the potential of, starting trust or something along those lines, you know, we're looking more for, you know, the financial backing of these types of projects as opposed to the management and follow through a lot of these types of projects. So I, you know, definitely appreciate Nikki coming to talk to us about the struggles there. I did not have a chance this past month to, it's still on my list to reach out to another housing trust about, you know, funding mechanisms and things like that. So I will definitely have that done for our meeting next month. But yeah, I think, Gretchen, what was the item you were asking someone to hop on?
To actually look up the state statute
Alright.
on creating housing trust. And maybe, you know, reaching out to the Vermont Land Trust. I don't know. Maybe we should get the statute first. I think that might be the basic thing.
Mhm. Perfect. Did we have a volunteer to look at that? Okay. I don't necessarily want to take it on just because, like I said, I haven't even gotten to my task from the last meeting. Let's do it this way. If you have, Gretchen, if you don't mind just sticking that and like maybe just reply all to one of the emails I sent with that task, and if somebody has time to hop on it, by all means.
Okay.
If not, we'll try to figure it out. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
All
which
right.
kind of brings me to like another discussion, and we kind of touched on it earlier. You know, it's great that we're getting another person coming on, Meg. She'll be great. But I do think that we need more capacity sitting at this table. And so if people could actually brainstorm some ideas about who else we can bring into the fold that is able to assist on actual, you know, projects and things like that, that would be helpful, I think. You know, like we're not really getting the Hermitage. I don't think they've been for several months. That was Willie Parent. And I can't remember the guy's name. Dan, is it,
Dan.
from Mount Snow?
He was here last month and the month before.
Yeah, he was.
So I could go and try to find the statute. Is it on forming a land trust or is it on forming a housing trust?
It's forming a housing trust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Sue.
I'm not going to be great at reading this stuff, but I can probably go find it.
Oh, perfect.
I'll call Laura Sibilia.
Okay. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
And then I just wanted to provide just a little bit of an update with my conversation with VHCB. So we were running in this, you know, direction of, you know, maybe our technical assistance grant could go to a developer. And so we are running on that path. I emailed back and Jenny's assistant comes back to me and says, well, those are really like, we wouldn't be giving you a technical assistance grant for you to help a private developer. A private developer can come to us and they can get up to $10,000 for a multiple housing unit. And it's kind of like a feasibility study for that particular thing. I'm like, oh, okay. So, I mean, I think there's a bit of a learning curve happening up there at BHCB. You know, and I'm reaching out to her again. She did indicate that there is a technical assistance grant that we could go for that would really take our analysis and create a more detailed implementation plan. And I mean, the key piece is that she keeps saying municipality. So I have emailed her back asking, does it have to be one, you know, each of our municipalities asking for the same thing, and then, or can we do it as a group? So I have not heard back on that piece as of yet, because I'm sure that she would have to go and ask Jenny about that. But frustration level is high with this. I mean, and I apologize for sending out that, or having Eric send out that urgent, you know, is this okay to do? When, you know, she got back to me and said, oh, you can't do it. So, inexperience. So,
Would the developer be interested in doing it?
yes, so I have sent him the link to potentially do that. So it's good information to have that they are willing to do these more in depth, you know, and they kind of get into the environmental piece of it, which is the key piece of it, you know, like that's the, you know, that's the nuts and bolts of, you know, what's step number one. And so, yes, so we'll see if he does go for that.
Thank you for the update, Gretchen. Does anybody have anything else today? Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March 9th. If you have agenda items, I would need them obviously before that. Everybody, I think, has their marching orders. And if you have any questions in the meantime, or if you think of anyone who might be interested in joining us, like Gretchen said, they by all means have them reach out to me. I'm happy to speak with them about what it is that we're discussing and how they can be helping us. Okay. All right, very good. Well, thank you everybody for coming, and we will see you next month.
Thanks. So Vicky and Eric and I are going to stay on, right? Okay.
Yep.